Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and I hit myself in the forehead really hard on a chair this morning, so I'm gonna make my hair cover my forehead so that the bump is not visible. So if you can't see like my eye, it's just because of that. Anyway, this is my March wrap-up. So my book title challenge from the TBR Pokeball was the Yellow Admiral, and I did not get to this one, and towards the end of the month I kind of just thought I should save it for Genreathon. I did, however, get to my TBR jar challenge of read a book you DNF'd, and that is The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. I kind of last minute decided to go with this one because I DNF'd it in middle school and in college. So, and I completely understand why. So basically this book is about a girl named Harry who gets kidnapped by her kingdom's like rival kingdom, and it's never really explained why, but she ends up traveling with these people through the desert for like half the book, and then they find out that she is the one meant to wield this legendary blue sword. So basically, this book is only 250 pages or less, and half of it is filler. I kid you not. Like, that's why I just really could not even, like, no wonder I DNF'd it twice. I very nearly DNF'd it a third time. This is Robin McKinley's third book, and so I guess she probably just hadn't come into, like, her writing style yet or something, but okay, if you remember my Soulless review, if you saw it, I had a huge issue with the fact that the point of view changed in, like, scenes where there was dialogue and whatnot. The point of view changed multiple times in the same scene. This did that even more, if that is even possible. Like, every other sentence it would be like blah blah thought this and blah blah didn't like thought this and blah. They could not pick one point of view for even like a minute. And it drove me insane, and it contributed to my kind of not being able to identify with any of the characters because they were already really dry to begin with. Moving on, the first book that I read this month was The Witch's Daughter by Paula Braxton, and this book, it follows a girl named Bess who was born in the 1500s. Her mother got hanged as a witch, and she sought out this guy named Gideon, who's the guy who her mother got the witchy powers from, because she knew that she would get hanged if she didn't get some sort of witchy powers, you know. But now it's the present, and she is basically a middle-aged woman, like a 40 or 50-year-old woman, but really she's like hundreds of years old because she's a witch. And Gideon has come after her time and time again to collect his debt for giving her those powers. So every other chapter follows what's going on in the present day, and every other chapter goes back to, like, as a flashback to either when she gained the witchy powers or like some other time period. Time and time again, Gideon has come after her, and he takes the form of other people and all this other stuff. So in every like flashback, it tells the story of like her trying to get away from him. So this book was good. I really liked it. I think it could have been better. I felt like the characters could have been a little bit easier to connect with than they were. And also, I mean, she keeps changing her name in every flashback, you know, to get away from Gideon, but really, she still uses the same last name, and she still, her first name just changes to another nickname for Elizabeth every time. So I'm kind of thinking, like, dude, if you wanted to change your name, to avoid Gideon coming after you, you should have gone with something a little bit less like your original name. Next, I read Phantom by Dean Koontz, and this was the one book that I was able to read during a year-a-thon, which was horror and suspense this month. It was my first time participating in a year-a-thon, and I don't know why it took me the whole week to get through one book, because that is ridiculous. And it's only like a 400-page book. It's not like 1,000 pages or anything. But anyway, this book is about a woman and her like kid sister who she's become the guardian of. They go to the woman's hometown where she's a doctor, and it's a pretty small town. And they get there and they find that everyone is either gone, like disappeared, or they have died in a really weird looking way that doesn't make any sense. and all evidence points to they died really suddenly. So, of course, the two girls get really, really creeped out. And I'm not going to give too much away about what exactly is going on in it because it's a lot more impactful when it's a huge surprise. So basically, I'd never read any Dean Koontz before, so I'm going to make a Stephen King analogy here. So this was a little bit more like The Mist and less like The Stand, you know? So in other words, it's a more straightforward horror story than a what if this situation happened kind of horror story. So it wasn't super, like, it could have been creepier, because I find like what if weird situations a little bit creepier than straightforward stuff, but for a straightforward thing it was actually really creepy. It have some elements of like a what if factor in it because a lot of it was based on actual events. So that definitely made it creepy. Next two books I read for Slay That Series, so if you want more of my thoughts on them, you can check out my Slay That Series wrap-up, which I will leave a link to down below. But those were Rebel Spring, which I did not think was anywhere near as good as the first one because a lot of the stuff that worked in the first one just didn't work in this one. And Endymion by Dan Simmons, which is the third book in the Hyperion Cantos, and I loved it to pieces, but I still think the first one was infinitely better. Then I read the last two volumes of the Slayers novel first series. There is basically a second series, but it was never translated into English. They were really good. They basically follow the last, like, half or so of the second season of Slayers, and with a lot of differences, of course. The seventh one I thought was lacking in the magic and action and stuff for like the first half of it or so, but after that it got really good. And the only really real issue I had with this one was that the subtext between the two main characters that happens in the show was a lot more downplayed in this, and so I was like really hoping for the thing that happens between them, but it didn't happen. And there's a lot of stuff that was better explained than it is in the show. So once again, I was really, really impressed with how good the world is in this story. And also, once again, I just thought about how in the show, there's all kinds of stuff all the time that you wonder if you should forgive the slight lack of explanation of and whatnot. And I'm just so glad that, like, you know, you get the whole story behind some of that stuff in these books. And finally, my last completed read of the month was Girl in a Band by Kim Gordon, and this is the memoir of Kim Gordon, who is the bass player and singer of Sonic Youth. So it kind of starts off with talking about how the band basically broke up or went on an indefinite hiatus because she and her husband, who founded the band, got divorced. Then it goes into kind of like her upbringing and whatnot, and I feel like it's like once it got to like her 20s years when she's on her own in New York and whatnot, I think it dwelled a little bit too much on non-music related stuff. But at the same time, it was really, really awesome to, like, I just love musician biographies because it's like, it's just so interesting to get into some of these people's heads because they're all so different. And she kind of broke a lot of the rules of like the way her society was back in the day and everything, and I just found that really fascinating. So these are the books that I read in March. And I'm sorry it got really dark in here all of a sudden. That was weird. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what your favorite book you read this month was, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!